Hello, I'm Johnny and you're watching the Hexy Beast. Today I'm going to be having a quick look at one of my favourite games from last year. Wingspan. So, I'm pretty excited about this one. Okay, so today we're taking a look at Wingspan, a game designed by Elizabeth Hargrave and published by Stonemaier Games. I'm going to be looking at just the solo mode today. So, basically, the goal of Wingspan is you are taking on the role of a bird enthusiast who's trying to attract the most interesting birds to your aviary. So, let's get on with it, shall we? First thing I think we should look at, though, when you're starting a game, you will choose either side of this scoring card. You can use either blue, which is a little less competitive and a little easier to work out, but I prefer the green side, which basically works in first and second. You will also draw these little tokens that will determine your round goals. Once these are on there, we'll basically carry on. The first thing we'll do is decide what our objective is for the rest of the game. It's basically, in the solo game, you'll only be using the cards which have these little percentages on it. Otherwise, they're not really viable for solo. So, for example, this one would say birds with a wingspan of 30 centimeters of less. If by the end of the game I got 4 or 5, I get an extra 3 points. And if I got more than 6, I would have an extra 6 points. Okay, so once we've decided our goal, the next thing to do would be to draw 5 cards and take one of each kind of food from the supply. Okay, so basically what you're going to be doing in Wingspan is you're going to be playing cards to different habitats on the board to build up an engine so that each one of your actions gets stronger. You can take one of 4 actions in the game using these things, the very humble action cube. Okay, so in the solo game we also have this setup over here, and this is the automa deck. This has various things, so I'll discuss this more as we use it, but this basically decides how our opponent is going to react. So at the beginning of the game, we take 5 food out of the supply, and we also draw 5 cards. At this point, we would be allowed to discard food in order to keep any of these cards. So right now, as you can see, we're going to have a look at, say, we might keep this one, and we're going to keep this one. Okay, so in order to keep them, what we've done is we're going to have to get rid of 2 food. So as we can see here, we might as well look at the cards while we're at it. This here will tell you which habitat you can play the bird. This below is its food cost, so as you can see this one would take 1 invertebrate. This would be the amount of points the bird is worth. This is the type of nest the bird has, and by here we have the amount of eggs each bird can hold. This is also its wingspan, which will be referenced in certain powers which are at the bottom of the cards. So if I wanted to play this one in this turn, I would have to take my 1 action cube and put it on the player bird action at the top of the board. Then we would check our habitat, and we'd see we'd want to play it in the wetlands for 1 for this, so we'd spend this to play this in the wetlands by here. Okay, now that we've done our first action, the automa is going to react. First thing we would do is take the top card off the automa deck and then line it up with the round one on the automa tracker. This would mean he would draw a card. So first thing we would do is check over here at the objective, and he wants the birds with those nests. So if we look up here, this bird has one of these nests, so he will acquire it and put it to the side for the automa, so he'll gain these points at the end of the game. Okay, so basically the 4 actions you can do in this game. There's the one you've just seen, which is to play a bird. There's this one here, which you would take one of these dice out of the bird feeder. There's this action here, which is to lay 2 eggs. So we would take 2 eggs from here and we'd put them on top of a card. Each egg is worth a point at the end of the game. And then we would have this action here, which would be to draw a card. Okay, one of the fun things about Wingspan, though, is by the time you've gone a few turns in the game, your board will look something like this. So next time you use your draw a card action, not only will you draw these 3 cards, but you will also activate this power, which is to gain one of these from the dice tower. We'll also activate this power, which is to repeat a brown power, so we'll gain a fish as well. That gives us all this and everything else. We're just throwing food everywhere. Next thing you know, we're drawing another card from the deck, and then we're going to tuck a bird from my hand behind that one. So basically, in 1 action, we've managed gain a few points. So once players reach the end of the round, they will be scoring one of these objectives. So in round 1, we're looking for eggs in clutch nests. As you can see on my board, I've only got 1. 2 if you include this one. So I got 2. Then we would then consult this card to see how the Automa scores. So if you look here, we got clutch nests, he would have 5. So obviously, the Automa would win this round, and I would place one of my cubes on the second place. So this leads me into one of the interesting facts about this game. As you go through the game, by the end of round 4, you will only have 4 cubes to actually spend on actions. But as you go through, your actions are getting stronger and each turn is taking longer. Okay, so basically you carry on playing turns like that for 4 rounds, and then at the end of that you would tally up your total scores based on the amount of birds you have, your bonus cards, end of round goals, eggs, etc. As you can see, played a couple of games of this. Right, so that's everything covered from a gameplay perspective. Now let's just move on to some thoughts. Okay, so that was a quick look at the gameplay of Wingspan, and now I'm going to tell you what I think. First thing I have to say is that I'm absolutely in love with the component quality of this game. It comes with things like this, which is not only a nice tray to display cards during the game, but is also a great way to store your cards when you're not playing. This thing especially, they didn't really have to include this, but I'm glad they did, as it really adds a lot of table presence to the game. It really helps with the theme. On top of that, I think Stonemaier Games have been really good to actually include things like this, which store your eggs and your food, etc. On top of that, I just think it's a really good game. It has a lot of things that's very appealing about it. It doesn't quite have that gateway feel, but I can definitely see a lot of new gamers finding this one easy to pick up. It's highly accessible and has a lot of strategy involved once you start learning the game. By the time you've got a few cards on the board, you'll be bouncing cubes from right to left with all the excitement of a giddy child. So all I can say is that I really enjoy the game, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Which is a really good score from me. And if you like what you see, feel free to like and subscribe and click that little bell icon down in the corner. I've been Johnny, the Hexy Beast, and most of all, stay Hexy, everyone.